Mm, Zoom. All right. Uh, yeah, okay. So this is the wrong slide. Yeah. So welcome to session 6. Today we are going to be going over just like general problem solving, and we're gonna like quickly cover enemies. And then we're just gonna give you like the time in your breakout rooms. I would say like a lot of the game mechanics that you want to implement if they're specific to your game, you probably just have to like learn them from your mentor, like do Googling. Okay, so first we have a bunch of files that you can use if you are like um I guess first of all, if you want to make like some sort of platformer type game, not necessarily a platformer type game, but basically here's the files we for the exercises that we've done before. So we have the let's see. I'm not exactly sure how much is built in. Okay, you won't have collisions, but you're gonna have like, the basics. Okay, if there's key press, do this, do that. You have like the player file with the images and probably the movements. And then you'll have like some platforms. So if you want these, you can use this code. But if you want to start something new, I'd recommend like only taking maybe like collision code and then, what you learned about images, you can kind of just recreate that. Um, the best framework for if you're just going to start anew, just use the um, file from session 1. It's like the one that we use for exercise templates, and I can share that later. Yeah, so basically physics first. Um, yeah, so basically velocity is like the amount of pixels that your object moves every frame. And then acceleration is, speeding up. It's a pretty simple way to describe it. You can always come back to reference these slides. Jumping, once again, it's basically when we have like a constant downward acceleration, like given that your character is not touching a platform. And then when you jump, you basically set the velocity to something negative. So suddenly your velocity is upward. But then as the player goes up, the upward velocity is reduced, right? So eventually this jump velocity goes to 0, and then you reach the peak and you start falling down until you hit like a platform, right? And then collision. Um, oh, okay, I don't think that's relevant. Sorry. So yeah, collision. And once again, it's just like things hit each other, pretty self-explanatory. Um, Like I think, like I said, once if you want to do like if you want your game to be, run smoothly, definitely check out one of these two methods. And the main point is that you want to do collision based on like which direction the player is, like the velocity of the player. So that way like if the player is coming into the platform from the right, from the top, from the bottom, that's like the best way. If you just do it based on like try to figure out how like deep the player is into the platform, that has issues. Okay, so this is just like a review quick question. I'm going to set it up, so I'll stop screen sharing for a moment. The question is, if the platform is, okay, everyone should, I'll share it back again, but whoops. Okay, finally, session 6. Right, okay. I'm going to start the question now. Oh yes, I have the screen share as well, don't I? 2 minutes should probably be enough. So yeah, everyone, you should be able to get onto Top Hats. And that's that. Okay. Oh yeah, I think I have to show the question, don't I? Okay, here goes. So if the platform is a sprite, what does this code do? Oh, interesting. I think we should have two more people answering. So I'm waiting for two more people to get onto Top Hat because I think there should be 5 people answering this. If you're having like issues, just unmute or say something in the chat so I'll know to wait. Okay, we have 4 out of 4. 28 seconds. Okay, well, no one's putting in the chat that they're trying to get on, so I'm just gonna leave this as is. And time is up. Okay. Yeah, so the answer is D. Basically, set the player's speed to 0 and then delete the platform. That's what the .kill function is. Yeah, so it's D. Okay, I'm just gonna continue. So this one, like, kind of like, beyond session, you're gonna mainly use the internet. Like, you might have some friends who know like coding better. You probably have the Schoolic Ignite server as well. But other than that, like a lot of the questions that you have, your internet is probably the best place. Yeah, so if you're copy and pasting code, obviously like I mean generally there's not administrator prompts in like copy and pasted code. If there is one, then it's kind of sus. But yeah, definitely talk to your mentor and like ask them. Um, but even then, like when you're copying and pasting code, you should generally try and understand the gist of it, like look through each chunk um before you use it. Okay, so basically like some tips on how to Google, it's like be specific, right? One of the things you can do for error messages is you can always like copy and paste them. That's generally pretty effective. Um, yeah, so it's like about finding the right balance between being specific and generic. But honestly, like I think you just kind of get used to um, figuring out like what sorts of search terms are good. Like you can see the examples here, but it's kind of hard to teach like um what is it? I guess you want to look for concepts, right? You want to look for concepts. So like this one is sound effect and collision. And um Pygame has documentation as well. It's I think I've actually shown this before. So you just go like I search up Pygame documentation basically, and it generally gives you like it tells you what each of the functions does. But if you want to understand like exactly how it works or all like the niche uses, then it's like not necessarily you have to do quite a bit of reading. But generally speaking, if you just want to know like, oh, what shows for options like can I pass into like a Pygame rect, right? Then you can just search up that in like the Pygame docs and it'll tell you the arguments. Sometimes the wording is not that like what is it called? Sometimes the wording is not super obvious, but for the most part, if you just do like more research, you should be able to figure out without going down like an endless rabbit hole of Googling. So yeah, this is Google time. What does this function do? Basically, it's pygame.time.get ticks, and I'm gonna start the question in a moment. Wait. Okay, how do I go to next question here? Okay. Yeah. And go. You have 2 minutes, figure it out. And it's multiple choice, so there's not many options. Yeah, so quick question, enter the code like last time, and then you actually 2.5 minutes, but that should be enough. The function, once again, is just like this. I'll split screen. Do we only have 4 people again? Okay, I'm just gonna skip to the next question since the last time nobody said that they were like they needed me to wait. So I know we should have five students entering. So like I said, if you're having issues, like put something in the chat so I can like add more time. Because I think we have 5 students. Okay. Oh well, I'm just gonna skip to the next question then. Yeah, so okay, everyone's figured that out pretty easily. Literally, it's pretty just like copy and paste it, right? And it tells you, right? And the variable name is pretty helpful as well. Okay, next up. What else? Oh, I think I mentioned something else this here. Oh yeah, this. No, no, okay, there was something else that I don't think we made a slide on, but it was like you can also use like the large language models. That's like ChatGPT, Bard. Those are like the main ones. Actually, if you have GitHub Copilot, but I think that's paid. Anyways, yeah, you can use like large language models as well. So the thing with large language models is usually the code is usually like for small things, if you like want a program that like generates, I don't know, random numbers from 1 to 10, the code will work. It may not. Like smaller code is generally you don't have to worry about it being inefficient or buggy. If you want to make a larger program, like chances are, like it's hard to say because the code is getting better. It might work, but like the more that you want AI model to type, the more complex the program, the higher chance you're gonna have like bugs and inefficiencies. Um, what else? So you can use them for two things. One, you can just use them for code generation. You can literally just say like, "Oh, make me a guessing game." And if it's like one of those, if it's like a common enough game, what it does is like it's kind of scrapes the web and like, there's probably someone who's done that sort of thing already. So it's kind of like if you just went online and copy and pasted someone's code. Um, and you can also ask it like what's resources like should I reference if I want to figure something out? Like once again, it's not I guess if you use like Google Bard or like Bing AI, then you can get like website information as well. But at this point, it's like that's just similar to Googling. Um, but yeah, in terms of like code generation, I say when you're starting out, don't overuse it because like you actually want to like figure out what is happening. So even if you ask it to generate code, um you should actually like try and look over it. I think I put uh, okay, I do not have this stuff. But one good one for coding is Fins. This one is quite good for code specific. And if you have, for some reason, you end up buying like GitHub Copilot, that is also very well good for, like, it's known to be quite good for coding. Like, it fills out a lot of code. But so I just put this one over here. Oh, yeah. So there are suggestions here, right? There are tips as well for using AI chatbots, but you can just look in as well, like specificity, right? And one thing you can use is like examples. So you can type something, especially when you're like translating between languages. If you know like how to type something in one language, then it'll have a much higher chance. If you give examples of like a print statement in Python, then it'll probably return you like a more accurate translation in another line. Sorry, no. If you want to have some Python translation to like some other language, for example, then you will say, for example, like print in Python is, I don't know, something like that, right? Um, like if you're curious, you can just look it up. There's a lot of guides on like how to prompt chatbots more effectively. Anyways, moving on. Yes. You can just like copy and paste this code. It's just like some dude that walks around from left to right. And the idea is that we want to have some collision that checks when your guy jumps. I think this is from Mario, if I remember correctly. So when your character jumps on top of your enemy, then we want to like kill off the enemy. Uh, yes. So if you can hear the background noise, just ignore it. It's like a smoke alarm being triggered by Steam. Anyways, yeah, so enemy sprites, basically what you can do is you just come onto the slide, copy and paste the code. I can send the link in chat. Actually, I already did. So basically, it's the same format as the other ones. Initiate the Python pygame.sprite, get the image location, create the image, create the rectangle, give the rectangle starting location, and that's all. And then what we want to do is we also want to have an update section. So yeah, like with the group, add stuff to the group, create the object. That's what we usually do. And then we want to have like an update. Right now, we're just going to have the enemy like move to the right every frame, right, by some predetermined speed. Then, oh yes. Yeah, so what we want to implement as well, actually, this is probably one of the quick questions. Okay. Yes, we'll copy link. Yeah, so one of the quick questions was like, I think there was this code about the enemy moving back and forth. So if you remember something about like dot speed times equals -1, if an enemy has touched the edge, you can figure that out based on, the coordinates of your actual platform and stuff. Um, okay, one more thing is that there's like scaling in Pygame. So when you have images, you can scale the image to some sort of like this is the X heights or X length, blah, blah, blah. The horizontal length and the vertical length, you can scale stuff. So that way, like if you have slightly different size images, you can get them all like to the same size. Other thing you can do is you can pass in a flip. So as you can see here, like first argument is the image, second argument is a flip along x-axis or flip along y-axis. This is obviously like the most useful thing when you are when your player's like switching directions, you can actually apply the transformation. And what else? Yes, okay, transformations. Here's like an example. It's an easy way to test it is if you just like if the mouse button is pressed, flip your character, right? Now, well, we're gonna like practice with this exercise over here. Like honestly, like I said, use the code. You can copy and paste this code first near the top, and then you can add some update. Well, you have to initialize everything. So initialize enemy, add update code into the true section. Honestly, you don't really need the platform at this point, do you? Let me see. No, you do not. The platform, like if you have the code from before, you can add it, but you just literally have an enemy floating in space and moving left and right every 2 seconds. So you want to use this. And if you bonus, you can like turn the enemy whenever they switch directions. Yeah, and we'll do collisions later, but exercise, like just start with this. We can do like 20 minutes probably. Yeah. Okay. Yay. So back to session. Yes. Okay, so now we do collisions. What happens if the Mario hits, I think they're called Goombas, if I remember correctly. If they run into him from the side, we want to defeat the player. But if the player jumps on top of the enemy, we want to defeat the enemy. So, by the way, I'm gonna be honest, like this is not good. It's actually not good code to have like this. Actually, oh, maybe it's your own exercise. No, no, no. Okay, this is the example code. It's actually not that good because if you think about it, if you're just saying like, oh, if the player's like 10 pixels underneath the enemy, like, oh, then kill the player. It's like it's not foolproof. Um, but honestly, the idea though is that with that okay, wait, sorry, 1 second. Yes, so basically this is like oversimplified a little bit, so just like take everything here with a grain of salt, but like if you're not too worried about like the collision being a little off sometimes, then what you can do is like, okay, if these two collide, kill the player, right? But now you want to check like if the player is on top of the enemy, um, then instead we want to kill the enemy, right? So the way that the code works is that it checks if during the collision it checks if the you don't really need 2 lines. You can just do player.rect.bottom because that's a built-in function of the rect object. So you really is checking if the player's rectangle bottom is smaller than or equal to the enemy's height plus 10. So basically it's saying if the difference between, the bottom of the player and the top of the enemy is less than or equal to 10, so it's within like that, the overlap, um, then it's what is it? Then it is a like then the player is on top, right? Otherwise you kill the player. So overall this code will work okay. But once you want to like start, if you want to make more complex collision or something, then it's probably not the best idea. Okay, the other thing about using like strict overlaps is if your gravity, especially if you don't have a terminal velocity, and you fall like really, really fast, your player bottom could be here, and then suddenly you could jump straight past. and then you would just end up inside the enemy and your player dies. So that's what I'm saying about like it can be buggy. Um, Actually, but this also applies to platforms. Make sure you have like a terminal velocity for gravity. If you have like a platformer, otherwise your player can teleport straight through platforms. If you think like if the velocity is like 100 for some reason, then it will move 100 pixels each frame, which means when you check for collisions, you can actually go straight through platforms. So the simplest solution is you can just have a max speed, but if you don't want to do that, then it would have to be more complex. But you would have to say like if the player would pass through a platform because of this incredibly high velocity, instead stop it at the platform. But honestly, just like don't make your player capable of going so fast. And this code you can add in if you want to like um test it, but really the main thing here for is just like design your own game. Big thing, like definitely ask your mentors for help, resources, all that stuff. And so the next 2 weeks, including this week, are basically actually yeah. So it would be 3 weeks, including this session, is gala time. Oh, actually no, the eighth session that we do is actually we're gonna have a Kahoot as well. So that'll take up some time, but overall, like the next 2 weeks, you'll have session to work on the game, and like obviously, if you have time, you should spend time outside of session to work on the game. My advice is like you always want to like just say, "Oh, I'm just," if you don't really feel like it, but you know that you're the type of person who will actually enjoy it once you start, you tell yourself that you're gonna do like 10 minutes, right? And then if you still don't feel like it, then you leave. But if you, after that 10 minutes that you start like gaining momentum, then that's like a good strategy to use. You don't really have to use anything from our classes. Um, Personally, but this is probably from my point of view as well, because I am like pretty experienced. Don't use most of the code here. I do use like I would use the Pygame frame is like good. So like like I said, the template, which is in layer 4. I'll find it quickly. So the starting template where, when you were first introduced in the first session, that is something that you want, and it should be over here, and I will paste that into the bottom of, yes, I will paste this over here. You also, like, if you want, you can look at some games. Like, I assume everyone plays enough games, so like, whatever you want. If you want to play some games, like whatever. Oh yeah, so here's Pygame games if you want. Like this is purely Pygame. But even if it's not Pygame, you can usually like if there's some popular games, you can like make some spin-off and then add your own twist. But the Pygame stuff is in this like this slide over here, slide 33. Yeah. Okay, 1 second. Yeah, so your exercise template file, like definitely use this. It's good. Oops. Like just copy and paste this main one. So you can see on slide 33, first one is exercise template file. That one you will definitely want to use. Then the collisions, like I said, I have the 2 links that I will paste again. Okay. No, it's not there. For directional collision, assuming you want that, most games want that. Okay. Anyways. So these are like your 2 resources that I'm gonna put in. I think they're quite useful. And so what else? So yeah, the other thing is like don't try not to be like overly optimistic about what you can do. So basically like you want to think about what you can get done during the gala, and then you want to only like um how do I describe this? I would say like you want to aim to get it all done, except realistically you'll end up only being able to do half of it unless you happen to like have very bug-free code. Most people tend to like overestimate what they can do, but if you do like dedicate enough hours, you can probably implement everything you want. This thing is not the right dates, but you know what, we'll update you in the next session as to when the gala actually is. So if you're creative, you get more points generally. So, um, let's see. yeah, there's a few rules. You're not allowed to use code you've written in the past. Like, I would say the exception to this is if you have like some good functional collision, then like you can take that. I like very general stuff I think is okay. Because in the end, like most people, if you think about it, they generally go online anyways, and they're like, oh, look at this piece of code for making a button, and they'll probably copy and paste it, right? So if it's like that sort of stuff, then sure. But obviously, what's the fun in submitting a game you've already done? Um, yeah. So I would say there are some caveats to this, just in the interest of, actually allowing you to focus on like implementing the unique mechanics instead of like, oh man, I've had to spend like an hour or two trying to fix collision. And the dates is probably like um you just assume it's like March 11th for now, because session 7, session 8, so you have at least until March 11th. So that you can assume is your deadline. Um and yeah, like definitely it'd be nice if you share your plan with your mentor because then they can give you ideas or maybe tell you if something is March. My bad. April 11th, or yeah, April 11th. I'm time traveling. Okay. Yeah, I won't keep you guys waiting. I will let everyone go into their breakout rooms and like ask lots of questions. If you want images, you can go you can go into let me see, there's probably a better link. I think this little slide here has like some images. Okay, it does not. That's not the right link. I will find you some images. But other one is pixel art. Is good, I think. Is that the yeah, I think that's the one. No, it's not. Oh my God. Or is it Flaticon? I think I have bookmarks. I have bookmarks. Yes. OpenGameArt.org. You know what? I'll paste all these links later, but you can literally just search up free game assets. That's a really good way to just get yourself pictures. Um, if you're not planning to like share your game widespread, you can use any image on Google, but generally you want to avoid doing that if you're actually gonna like, share your game with more than a few people, because then you run into copyright violations, which you could technically get charged for. So depends on how many people you plan to share your game with. If you're like gonna post it on GitHub or something, then you should transition all your images over to like original stuff. But other than that, I will stop talking. And oh yeah, here's if you want to add a background, there's some code. So yeah. Wait. Oh, that's actually from the other exercise. My bad.